A really big part of music production is getting a good vocal on your track. I get messages from people asking me, can I get a pro vocal on my track when I'm in a home studio? Well, of course you can. And there's probably hundreds and thousands of examples that you don't know about of records that are either in the charts, on TV, or have been signed to labels that have been recorded in home studios. So I thought I'd do this video to really show you how you can get to that pro vocal. Before I get stuck in, there are some pieces of equipment you need, such as a sound card, a microphone, a mic stand, and a pop shield. And then last but not least, you need some closed back headphones. Just so you're aware, I am recording another video to show you how to set up a beginner home studio. This will show you exactly what equipment options there are for you. So please, if you want to know about that, like and subscribe and press the bell and you'll be notified when it goes live. Okay, let's dive in. So first, you've got to make sure that your track is as finished as possible before you even think of doing vocals. Vocaling a track too early will mean that by the time you've finished your production, it's likely that the vocal's not going to sit as well as it did as when you recorded it. That makes total sense. So keep that in mind. Also, being a bit of a vocalist myself, I know that if the track sounds really great, it brings something out of me. It makes me lift my game because the track sounds so great. So I have to work harder as the vocalist to try and get a good vocal out. Okay, next up is environment. This is all about your room and where you're going to do the vocaling. If you are going to record vocals in your home studio, you will need to acoustically treat your room. There are some very expensive options for that, but you can get the simple pads like these ones, and the ones that I've got in my studio that are a lot cheaper, and they really do a great job with controlling the sibilance of a vocal, which means that the S's don't fly around, which means you don't get that bounce back. Or if you can't afford pads, you can look at blankets or duvets and build that around the vocal area at least. That will be your minimum to do. And then once you've done what you can, take the microphone, place it around in different parts of the room and find the ideal space where you think you get the most direct and clean sound from that vocal. That will then become the ideal place to put your microphone, and you always put it in the same place. Try and be imaginative. Don't worry about it if it doesn't look very good. It's all about the sound. I've gone to small studios where they've put two mattresses together in a V shape and they've put lots of curtains all over it, and it sounded really great by the time they've finished recording it. So it is possible. And then we go on to the next point, and this is about getting the right input gain on your recording channel. The last thing you want to do is have your file looking like this once you've recorded it, because you don't want to go an hour down the line and then realize that you're way too hot and that all those files are then going to go in the bin because they'll be clipping, they'll be distorting. You won't get a good quality like that. So make sure you keep the dBs below -6, get the vocalist to warm up and get a -8 on the vocalist before you start recording. And then once you start recording and as you go through the process, you'll probably rise a little bit, but you'll still stick to under the -6. If you're using a mic preamp, then that's fine, but still just look at your input gain on the channel that you're recording into your DAW. Don't take it for granted that the settings you had last time would work, because this might be a different characteristic of singer or song, and that will definitely affect the level that you get coming into your DAW. So go through that process on each single song. Next up is mic distance, something that people overlook, but it's a very important part of getting the right sound for the song that you're doing. If you have a vocalist stand too near the microphone, you get a boomy sound. When he or she stands too far from the microphone, you get a really thin sound. So you've got to find that balance a little bit. There isn't really a golden rule on that, because it actually depends on the characteristics of the song and the singer. Because if someone is a real belter, you can afford to move back slightly because that person's so loud that you're going to capture a good enough volume and a good enough texture of that vocal, even if you're a little bit further away. But if someone is quite soft and timid, or it's a soft song, say for instance, then you would move closer to the microphone. Then in front of the mic, you need a pop shield. And again, how far away the pop shield is from the microphone depends on the singer. If it is that belter again, then you would move the pop shield back a little bit, because the P's that that person is going to be singing will just mean that the pop shield does nothing, because the air that from the P will still go through to the microphone, and then you'll get lots of sounds on your recording. But if it's someone that sings really soft, then you can probably put the pop shield within an inch of the microphone, and that can pretty much work. There is no real science. You're going to have to play around with that a little bit, and you'll get an idea of that. If it's just a standard song and a standard singer, I would usually say that the pop shield should be between 1 and 2 inches away from the microphone, and that the vocalist should probably be within 1 inch to 2 inches of the pop shield. That's usually kind of a standard thing. And then you adjust it from there as and how that works for you. You just want to get that right so that you know that you get the right tone from that person's voice properly into the microphone. And the final thing to really look at is if you haven't got a solid floor, tell the vocalist that tapping their feet will cause low-end frequencies coming onto your audio file, and try and get them to not do that as much as possible, because you might not pay attention to it, and then you realize when they've gone home, yeah, bye, and then you check it that night and there's lots of low-end tapping on the audio file, which is really not helpful. And that brings us on to a very good point, which is a good performance. So you might ask, well, how do I get a good performance? Isn't that dependent on how good the vocalist is? Well, yes and no. I've worked with some really good vocalists and they straight away were at that level instantly, and it was like, wow, that is just amazing. It's so easy to do vocals. But some people aren't as good as that and need time to get themselves up to that level. But the key word there is time. And a lot of producers don't like doing vocals because it's a lot of hard work to get it right, but you need to spend the time on it. You've got to spend enough time to get a really good take from someone. That doesn't mean do 15,000 takes and I think we should have it then. No, do quality takes. Why not do 5 takes and then sit together and talk about them and say, right, okay, what do we like? What don't we like? Why is that not working? What's your tone like there? What are you breathing like there? Which part of your voice are you using? You're using your head voice or you're using your chest voice. There's lots of things to talk about with a singer to get them to be able to deliver that good performance. For instance, there's timing, and timing can really make a vocal seem like it doesn't sit well and like it's not really in the groove. And some vocalists sing very much on the beat or even sometimes in front of the beat. And that's something you can discuss with the vocalist, but don't make it a big thing. If that's how that vocalist sings, to try and push them back and get them to sit in the groove, some vocalists can't do that. And rather than upset the whole vocaling process, see what they can and can't do and don't push on it too much. Because with timing, again, you can just say, okay, I'm just going to let it be sung as it is. And at the end of it, I just highlight all the tracks and just basically delay them all a little bit. And then I'm going to get everything roughly to sit much better. But then you will find that some of the movements and some of the notes and some of the timing still need looking at, because some melodies will have been sung on time, but certain bits are pushing. So you're going to have to then go in and edit and maybe flex time them. So it could be a longer process doing that, but as the producer, you're going to have to make a decision on what you think will be the best way to get the good quality out of that person.